Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Kirsten Lloyd, and I'm a co-founder and head of go-to-market here at Modzy. Modzy is the secure model apps platform to integrate, monitor, and secure AI models at scale. We all know that the artificial intelligence landscape is changing rapidly. Some projections show that the global market will reach nearly $400 billion worth of investment within the next 5 years. The explosive growth of the industry and the increasing pressure on organizations to adopt AI prompted us to explore the top factors driving AI decision makers across industries and government. For example, do leaders actually understand AI? Do they trust what it tells them? Are they worried about security breaches, or have they already been breached? These burning questions were the inspiration for our latest research report, The Race Towards AI Adoption. We wanted to understand the biggest challenges plaguing AI decision makers to help their organizations overcome the biggest challenges they face today with adopting and scaling AI. Our analysis of the current state of AI adoption is based on results of a detailed cross-industry survey that was conducted back in fall of 2020. Participants represented companies in financial services, insurance, energy, manufacturing, healthcare, and aerospace and defense industries, as well as government employees at the federal, state, local, and municipal levels. 821 people in total participated, all from organizations with greater than 1,000 employees. The results revealed trends spanning across industry aligned to different points in the AI adoption journey. We grouped the organizations into two categories: significant impact organizations, or SIOs, and low impact organizations, or LIOs. Decision makers from SIOs work at companies that have been significantly impacted by one or more AI technologies, including machine learning, deep learning and neural networks, computer vision, generative adversarial networks, and robotics in motion. In contrast, decision makers from LIOs work at companies that have experienced little to no impact to date from AI enabling technologies. Analysis of the data revealed results across three main categories: AI adoption, critical factors for trustworthy AI, and the importance of partnerships for companies developing and deploying AI solutions. During the course of today's presentation, I will share highlights from each of these areas. Let's dive into the results. First, survey responses show that, overall, AI investments are creating value and furthering progress towards organizational goals. 82% of decision makers said that they are likely to increase their investment in AI or AI enabling capabilities within the next 1 to 2 years. Enthusiasm for AI from SIO leaders came through loud and clear. The pandemic was one factor influencing this. Additional research from both Gartner and McKinsey revealed that many plan to increase the pace and level of investment in AI moving into 2021 to keep pace with the acceleration of all things digital. However, the data revealed a divergence on this topic between SIOs and LIOs. The SIOs, again, organizations that are likely already investing significantly in AI, expressed a much higher likelihood of continuing on this trajectory. 88% of their decision makers said they're extremely likely to invest in more money in AI within the next 1 to 2 years. In contrast, only 52% of LIO decision makers say they're extremely likely to invest more in AI. What does this tell us? Organizations that haven't invested or adopted heavily will need additional support. This will likely need to come from the outside in the form of partnerships to help them build and deploy AI capabilities at scale. We will discuss this further later on in the presentation. In order to understand more about the impact of AI, we asked respondents for more detail about specific AI enabling technologies. As you can see, decision makers are seeing great impact from a number of different technologies, with the greatest perceived impact coming from machine learning at almost 90%. Both computer vision and natural language processing were rated at 80%. Decision makers expect to see an increased role for these three AI enabling technologies, as well as others, including generative adversarial networks, or GANs. GANs are the technology behind the 3D generation and realistic looking images and videos, including deep fakes, that are all over the media today. Despite the fact that AI investment is increasing, the biggest roadblock comes from the data itself. About half of the decision makers surveyed cited challenges related to data access as a barrier to implementing AI at scale today. As organizations commit to further scaling their AI capabilities, a focus on data accessibility and preparation will prove pivotal to overcoming challenges related to data access, sharing, and reuse. There's no questioning the hype and excitement surrounding AI and its potential to be a transformative technology. Many of the challenges today come from the cultural or human part of the equation. I'm referring to challenges related to trust and understanding. The next section of the survey focuses on these issues, where we ask decision makers about the perceived risks of AI. The top concerns cited relate to issues with trust, security, and ethics. Nearly 2/3 of decision makers, or 64% of those surveyed, say employees in their organizations still do not trust or understand AI-enabled decisions and recommendations. This lack of trust can be linked to challenges with explainability. I'd like to pause for a moment to explain explainability. AI models are large and complex, using tens of thousands of data points to learn and make decisions. The volumes of information that machines can process in seconds would take humans years to sift through. In many instances, how precisely an algorithm reached a decision could be opaque or come from what we call a black box. As a result, we have trouble trusting the output. Humans need to be able to trust the AI we depend on to make critical decisions such as medical diagnoses or loan decisions. We need to understand what happened when a model fails and feel confident that when we deploy models, they will make decisions in line with our expectations. Explainability is a technique that helps us understand how deep neural networks arrive at conclusions. Now, going back to our survey results, while 90% of decision makers and SIOs consider explainability extremely or very important, only 36% actually trust AI-generated insights. As AI becomes increasingly embedded into existing systems we rely upon today, decision makers need to identify ways to build trust among the various stakeholder groups involved with differing levels of technical understanding. We will need to identify the right mix of education, training, and tools to ensure AI-generated insights are documented, traceable, and trustworthy. Explainability is a core component of the Modzy product, and we've developed a patent-pending approach that's 5 times faster than leading open source approaches for explaining the predictions of deep neural networks. Along with the topic of trust, security and ethics are other top challenges that organizations face today when adopting AI at scale. When it comes to AI adoption, 90% of decision makers say security is extremely or very important when investing in AI technology. But in many cases, we've seen that concern hasn't yet translated into how organizations are securing models in use in production systems. Interestingly enough, 72% of respondents say that they've experienced security breaches or threats to their AI systems. Because AI is inextricably linked to proprietary data and, in many cases, personally identifiable information, decision makers have a responsibility to ensure that privacy and data rights are safeguarded. Almost 89%, so almost all organizations, say that privacy and data rights are extremely or very important when developing or deploying AI. For commercial organizations, protecting privacy is not just an ethical imperative, but a business one as well. Managing market competition along with high security risks is critical, especially in sectors such as healthcare and finance, where data theft could be especially lucrative for criminals. Modzy was founded on the premise that security and ethical AI are paramount. We set out to develop a platform that provides the ideal system for organizations to ensure that security and privacy measures are enforced and governed. Now, we've spent a lot of time talking about the growth of AI adoption, as well as the associated challenges and obstacles. So what is the right approach to implementation? Almost all decision makers we surveyed, that's 90%, agree that it is more cost-effective to work with external companies to develop AI solutions rather than building an internal team. Respondents who worked with external partners to implement AI saw an average cost savings of over 35% in their overall spend. As they engage external partners, many organizations are also looking to leverage bespoke AI models to accelerate their competitive advantage. This is particularly important in industries that have already seen major AI disruption, such as financial services. In the next few years, many organizations will reach an inflection point for their AI technology programs. With 80% of decision makers suggesting that they will increase AI investment in the next 1 to 2 years, pressure will grow to demonstrate greater progress and value. To succeed, organizations will require a clear-eyed view of both their current AI capabilities and their plans to scale and monitor at the enterprise or agency level. Increased spending on labor and technology will go a long way, but the successful AI strategy requires buy-in from the ground floor to the executive office. If there's one thing to take away from the race towards AI adoption, it's that AI technologies will only live up to their potential if an organization can ensure explainability, trust, and security are front and center for this new technology. Organizations that affirm these attributes and build employee, customer, and public confidence will be the ones most likely to overcome challenges and roadblocks in realizing the revolutionary promise and potential of AI. Thank you so much for joining us today. I encourage you to check out all the resources related to this report and other things required to scale AI to your enterprise at modzy.com. Thank you so much.